This week in Jamaica Now.
The Prime Minister is behaving in an increasingly unhinged manner.
The opposition PNP releases a new poll showing it's ahead, but the ruling JLP says it's fictitious. Massive hikes coming in private school tuitions. Bizarre, a man reportedly commits suicide after a woman jumps from his vehicle. And a Jamaican wins a Global Literature Prize. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. The opposition People's National Party PNP claims it would win if a general election was called now. That's according to the results of a Don Anderson poll commissioned by the PNP. The poll said 30.2% of Jamaicans would vote for the PNP, while 25% for the ruling JLP. The poll, which was conducted between June 8 and 14, has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. The voter support for the PNP has increased over February 2023, when it was 28.1% to the JLP's 27.9%, and in July 2022, when it was 18% to the JLP's 34%. The poll also showed that almost half of Jamaicans, or 44.8%, are either undecided or will not be voting, an increase of 0.8% over February and down from 51% in July 2022. Now, PNP President Mark Golding said the surge in support shows the party is now being viewed as a viable and preferred option to guide Jamaica. He said the JLP leader and Prime Minister Andrew Holness was becoming what he called unhinged.
The Prime Minister is behaving in an increasingly unhinged manner. His behavior in Parliament last week, Tuesday, where he was so shrill and talking about he's fed up or, what bun him, thank you, what bun him about what's happening now with how critical people are in social media. Well, what should be bunning him is the problem of crime and violence affecting the country, the disastrous education system where we're generating high percentages, much too high percentages of primary school children going into secondary school who can't read, can't write, can't do basic maths. The cost of living crisis that has impacted people so badly coming out of the pandemic and the inflation, of the global inflation from that, where the response of the government has been hopelessly inadequate to deal with the vulnerable citizens of the country, yet they're paying themselves increases over 200 to 300%. And when the pressure reached him, although he was the one who in his cabinet approved those increases, when the pressure reached him said him not take it as Prime Minister. And I don't know how that decision can even be implemented unless Cabinet has approved it, which at that time they had not. I don't know if they have subsequently approved it. But his behavior is erratic in this regard. And now, yesterday I see him on a platform blaming me for being the best paid public servant, which is ridiculous. I never asked for what I got, and I have decided to keep only 20% of the increase. He's the one who has given me that pay increase, him. So how can he be complaining about the size of it? And as I said, in due course, he will be in my position and earning it. So he should be careful what he says.
Meanwhile, only 15.6% of the voters said Jamaica is moving in the right direction, while 53.3% said Jamaica was going in the wrong direction. And the JLP has hit back at the poll, describing it as fictitious and contrived to artificially influence public opinion. The party said the poll is part of the PNP's propaganda and misinformation campaign, intended to shore up what it called a weak leader, sow discontent and distract the country with political mischief. The JLP argued that the PNP got the poll done during the controversy over the massive salary increases for politicians to benefit from public anger against the government. Now, without releasing its own numbers, the JLP said it was leading in polls it had conducted. And the JLP acknowledged that issues such as inflation and the COVID-19 pandemic have affected Jamaicans. Jamaica's Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince Kamika, has determined that former State Minister of Foreign Affairs Leslie Campbell should be charged for breaching the Integrity Commission Act. Mrs. Prince Kamika made her decision on the basis that the former senator failed to provide information requested by the Integrity Commission's Director of Information and Complaints regarding his statutory declaration. Preparatory schools across the island are slowly releasing their new tuition fees for the upcoming school year in September. And the increases are shocking parents, as the schools say the fees have to be increased to compete with hikes in the public school system. Immediate past president of the Jamaica Independent Schools Association, Dr. Andre Dyer, says private institutions would generally increase tuition by 3 to 5% each year and would match salaries to that amount. But he says schools will have to go above that average rate of increase because of the government's salary adjustment, which now sees a trained graduate teacher in the public system earning more than $2.8 million yearly. Principal of Stella Maris Preparatory School, Sister Mary Joseph, said government jobs are now more attractive and private schools have to respond. The current tuition for students attending Stella Maris is $105,000 per term. Mona Preparatory School has told parents that tuition will move from $105,500 per term to $145,000. The police theorize that the murder of a 37-year-old chef, Frederick Beckford, at his home on Tuesday night was a hit, but the police say they cannot release any further information. The former Jamaica Defence Force corporal was pounced upon by gunmen as he drove up at his house in Calabar Mews, Kingston 20. His attackers escaped in a waiting motor vehicle. Childhood friend Peter Gay Patrick said Mr. Beckford, who grew up in St. Mary, was a go-getter who loved cooking from he was a child. Mr. Beckford operated Jay's Knife and Fork restaurant on Conference Spring Road in St. Andrew. The police are probing a series of events which reportedly transpired in Beverly Hills, St. Andrew on Friday, leaving one man dead and others, including a policeman, injured. The deceased man is believed to have died from a suspected suicide. A woman and a policeman are hospitalized in serious condition. It's reported that a woman and the now deceased man were traveling in a red Honda CRV when she jumped from the moving vehicle. The off-duty policeman who was reportedly passing the incident stopped to assist. The driver of the CRV reversed the vehicle, mowing down the policeman as he assisted. The driver reportedly left the scene and was later found hanging from a rope at a premises. The Scientific Research Council is urging more food manufacturers to test their products for Listeria, a bacterium that can cause serious ailments and even death when ingested. Listeria can be found in many of the foods that are consumed daily, namely dairy items, fish and meat. Small to large-scale food producers can take their product samples to the SRC's Hope Gardens office for testing. Evaluations are generally completed over a 24-hour period. Pregnant women, the elderly, and those with a weakened immune system who consume foods contaminated by the microorganism are at a high risk of falling ill. Some of the common symptoms shown in those who consume food contaminated with Listeria include diarrhea, nausea, and fever. Jamaican writer Kwame McPherson has won the 2023 Commonwealth Short Story Prize for his submission, Okoye, which takes its name from a town in Florida where several African Americans were massacred in a horrifying, racially motivated incident in November 1920. Mr. McPherson is the first Jamaican to win what's considered the most global literature prize. In an interview with The Gleaner, the 57-year-old said this was his 9th attempt at the prize, with his first having been in 2009. Mr. McPherson was among 28 individuals, 10 men and 18 women, who were selected from a total of 6,642 entries. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, the success story of 11-year-old Don Farrell Lawrence, a student of the Corinaldi Primary School, and his results in the Primary Exit Profile Exams 2023.
Never give up, we never give up. And this is it.
So how are you feeling now?
Oh my God.
I was so shocked, and all I could think about was how everything was like I was doing so much that was wrong, and finally I just got a chance to express myself.
Looking forward to Cornell College now. Are you're ready for that? You know, Cornell College is a very big school.
Yes.
You're ready to take on that challenge as well.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm just overwhelmed. I am proud of Don Farrell.
You're getting really emotional. When you heard about him passing to Cornell College, I know you said you're overwhelmed.
I was at work. A teacher called me if I'm feeling good. I said I'm okay. And she was like, you don't hear, but I didn't know that the results were out. And she said, Don Farrell is going to Cornell. And I just screamed out in the shop. Everybody was looking at me. He's been doing a lot. Even sometimes he come from school. I'd ask him, Don Farrell, you get homework? No, mommy. But I'm not the kind of person who is going to take no. Because he says no.
Right.
I went into his bag, look into his books. their homeworks, their line need to be done. So from there on, I realized that I need to put my foot down, because if I didn't, apart from him having his brain to do what he needs to do, I had to be behind him, pushing him so he could reach this far.